What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome to another episode of Outside the Trenches. I'm BJ Kissel, joined as always by Nick Leckey and Tucker Franklin. Nick, how are we doing tonight, my guy?
I'm doing good. I think things could get better in Chiefs Kingdom, but it's still early on, and they're going to get this victory versus Andy Reid's old head team and win number 100.
Yeah. Listen, it's going to be a big therapy session tonight. We're all going to talk about it. My dogs are going to talk about it. If you can't hear them down there, just going absolutely bonkers. Their timing is impeccable.
It is.
But Tucker, before we started the show tonight, we were talking about your trust issues, and we are definitely going to get into those. But before we get into those, how are things, my guy?
Good. I mean, the time of the year, it's busy. Chiefs Twitter, very hostile right now. It's a very toxic environment. So got to be walking on eggshells now. But yeah, I think I'm as good as you can be for the Chiefs starting 1-2 this season.
And it seems like such a crappy 1-2. Like, it seems like they're just, not getting the good bounces that they used to be getting.
Yeah.
Like, things aren't hitting. And I wonder if this is that regression to the mean.
Could be. I think that's really interesting and something to think about. And we'll talk way more about what's going on with this team in the coming part of the show. But I think that's an interesting point you make there, Nick, about, it's like they're not getting the ball bounced their way all the time. Like, ever since the Super Bowl, really, it seems like, okay, things haven't really bounced their way. So we'll see if that tide turns in Philadelphia. Hopefully it does. The Eagles are not the best team they're going to face so far this season. It's just one of those wait and see type of things.
Talked about that a lot. It's going to be nice for the Chiefs just to play, I don't want to say like a normal team, but it's like the Browns were a unique matchup because it was the first game. It was the last game that the Browns had played were against the Chiefs, coming off the playoffs, the revenge, the offensive line, the running game just being a little bit different. Baltimore is just its own animal. We talked a little bit about with the Chargers being a little bit more of a normal, per se, football team, that they're still going to sit back and throw the ball, back quite a bit. But the Eagles are just a average, slightly above average NFL team that you can kind of gauge where you're at, particularly defensively, in that they are more traditional, say, than Baltimore is. You can get kind of a gauge of where you're at as a defense better overall facing a team like the Eagles. So that's what I'm looking forward to defensively, and we'll get into some of those storylines and a lot of the other ones. But before we break everything down, we got to thank Jack Stack Barbecue, our sponsor here on KC Sports Network, and for this podcast, Outside the Trenches, the first podcast, the initial podcast here on KC Sports Network. So we appreciate them, and whether you're in Kansas City or you're around the country, jackstackbbq.com, they do ship all over the country, and Nick will attest that Crown Prime beef rib is worth it.
Chef's kiss. It's
That's
so
what
good.
you need.
It's so good.
That's
really
it.
is.
Just
it really
chef's
is.
kiss.
It needs nothing else. I mean, it's so damn good, and it's such a unique barbecue item to Kansas City. And it's like, to me, I put it up there with the burn ends from Jack Stack's competitors too. So it's really good.
All right, guys, let's get into some football talk now, because I know that's why people are tuned in. And whether you are watching inside of our Facebook group there at the KC Sports Network, powered by the Chiefs Kingdom, or on our YouTube page, or on our brand new Twitch page or Twitch stream.
Channel.
Which one is it?
It's a channel.
Channel? I was wrong. Like, completely wrong on every account. Twitch channel. One day I'll get this stuff right. But all right, on our Twitch channel. But again, we appreciate everybody for tuning in. Again, Chiefs 1-2, under 500 for the first time since 2015. You've heard the storylines. They've talked about them all week. But, guys, one of the other storylines I want to get your quick thoughts on before we get into the rest of the show. Josh Gordon, set your expectations, because depending upon who you listen to, it's 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, or it's, I just hope he gets off the practice squad. This guy's toast. Like, he's done. So where in the middle do you fall? Tucker, let's start with you.
I am pretty measured, it seems like, in all of my opinions. Wow, that was not how I thought I was going to start that sentence. No,
this podcast is 1-2 as well, too, right?
Yeah, this podcast not on a great start. But anyway, I want to be measured about Josh Gordon is what I was trying to say. There are some very good athletic traits with Josh Gordon. The KC Lab guys broke down some Josh Gordon film in the Discord. They did a film room looking at Josh Gordon, and I was in there watching it with the subscribers right along with him and thinking, man, like this guy in New England was a stud. Like he still had it. And even his best year was in 2013. And it's like I can't remember what year it was, 2019 maybe, that he was in New England and he was balling out. He was high pointing balls, beating corners that are younger than him, making great gabs on the sideline, going across the middle, making the plays that seemingly the Chiefs can't make right now. And I was on KMA up in Iowa talking about the same thing with Josh Gordon, and Josh Gordon just brings something to the team if he is able to get on the field, get off the practice squad, which we all anticipate him to, that the Chiefs haven't had since Sammy Watkins, of having to account for another wide receiver. It doesn't matter if he makes an impact in the game or not. The defense have to respect him, right? You can't just leave him out there and like not cover him like you would a Demarcus Robinson or a McCole Hardman. And all respect to those guys, but they're no Josh Gordons. You've got to respect Josh Gordon's ability to get out over the top, make plays in the middle. So you've got to account for those guys. And that'll open up so much more for Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. And I think that this is one of those high reward, low risk moves, because if Josh Gordon doesn't get on the field, practice squad deal, nothing hurt from the team's pocketbook at all. And if he does get on the field and he can make an impact and get some defenders away from Tyreek Hill, because Tyreek Hill is facing so much more double teams than he has in the years past, rightfully so, because he's a top 3 receiver in the league and he's not 3. So he's one of the best in the game, and he's facing defenses like he's the best in the game. We're seeing Travis Kelce get Calvin Johnson type coverage, getting 2 guys lined up over the top of him at the snap of the ball. So they've got to figure out ways to get those guys open, get their guys to be able to get more move in space. I think Josh Gordon could do a really good job of that by just simply being on the field, and that's really all you need him to do.
I like how he presents such a matchup problem too for safeties and corners, because I think much like offensive linemen, everyone's kind of got their weakness or sort of who they have trouble guarding, and it's the same thing with corners and safeties. It's like, okay, I'm okay. Like some corners and some safeties are okay defending the smaller, speedy guy. And then some have issues with the big, strong guy like a Travis Kelce, but with speed. So when you get a guy like him, like Josh coming on this team and add just the size aspect, right? That sort of DK Metcalf aspect, it strikes fear in the hearts, and it presents those interesting coverage matchups too, because then it's like, okay, who am I putting him on? Am I putting my sort of dime, my dime player on him, or am I bringing in like a true corner? Like, am I putting in safety? It's like, who do you do? And then, what matchup does that take away from? So just schematically, I think it presents a problem pre-snap, which is, I think, what the Chiefs need to get back to doing is more pre-snap stuff, which is what they've kind of gotten away from.
I talked about this on the pregame show with 101 The Fox, and they're asking about Josh Gordon's impact. And for fans that look at the box scores and they say, well, I want 2013 Josh Gordon to go out and put up these huge numbers. He's joining the practice squad. We have no idea physically. We assume that he's going to look great and he's going to be in shape and all that. But we have no idea what kind of expectation or how quickly he can pick up the offense or what kind of impact there's going to be. And to expect there to be this big thing, it's not a big deal. But I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth, because my take is the best thing that could happen for the Chiefs offense in general is for Josh Gordon to make a big impact, or at least make one really big play right off the bat. Because Tucker, to your point, when you're watching and you see Marcus Kemp lined up on the side, like he may make a play, and as a defense, like you're like, okay, this is where guys are lined up. It's a different deal when the week after Josh Gordon catches a 75-yard touchdown, you're the safety saying, I don't think I can cheat over here quite as much, because I know that dude. I watched that dude with all those highlights, back when I was in high school and college when Josh Gordon was absolutely killing it. So putting that fear in the defensive coordinator of, oh, damn, is that the Josh Gordon that we remember, that we've all been kind of hoping that we would see happen? If that's the case, I hope we see it right away, because then it affects everything after that. They start making those decisions based on, hey, we got a guy.
Yeah, and another thing is, too, not that Marcus Kemp can't beat guys or Demarcus Robinson can't beat guys, McCole Hardman can't beat guys. Like, you can live with that as a defense. If you get beat by Marcus Kemp, you say, oh, well, those are the guys as a defensive coordinator you want to make the Chiefs beat you with. Josh Gordon is not a guy that you want the Chiefs to beat you with because you've seen what he can do. So he demands respect, and he's going. I just think that if he can get on the field, once he does get on the field, let's be optimistic here. I was telling Nick before the podcast, I'm naturally a pessimist when it comes to this stuff. But once he gets onto the field, I think you're going to see a whole lot more free up for this Chiefs offense.
It will. And I think the last comment, and we'll move on to the next one. But I think what we're seeing too, and what you guys are hinting at as well, is, to your point, BJ, about saying, hey, you want him to score big. So that way defenses think about it. And then Tucker, you were sort of saying the same thing, where it's like, he presents the challenges and everything like that. And it's like what he does, and he could throw a wrinkle into the Chiefs' tendencies. Right. Yeah. So now everything you thought, maybe here's your second and long coverage or here's your third and medium coverage, out the window now that Josh Gordon's here. So that could be the breath of fresh air that this offense needs.
All right. And Tucker, you just said that that you were being a little pessimistic earlier. We were talking about trust issues is what you were saying you were having. And I think it's not a bad segment to move into it just in general where Chiefs fans are at, because we record the show on Thursday nights. People don't want to keep talking about the Chargers game. It's a little early to talk about the Eagles for a lot of fans. Like, hey, what do they got? We know some of the good players that they have, but most Chiefs fans just kind of want to know, like, how am I supposed to feel right now? Like, I feel confident. Like, we're still one of the best teams. You listen to Patrick Mahomes, you listen to Travis Kelce this week, and they say, like, mindset doesn't change because, we had a few fumbles and we ended up losing, where they're going to feel like they cost themselves by making mistakes, not necessarily just going and getting beat. So to that point, I do want to have a segment where we just kind of air it out, a little therapy session. And Tucker, you get to go first because you were being honest about how you feel. And just, I think any Chiefs fan that's been a Chiefs fan for very long is a naturally pessimistic person. And if you're not, you're Ted Lasso because you're the nicest person in the world. Is always in a good mood because so many things have happened. But where does your origin of trust issues when it comes to your sports love come from?
Yeah, well, I'm not very old, so my Chiefs, like the I guess the beginning of the trust issues is like the no punts game, then the no field goals game. Those were kind of the first ones for me that I can really remember thinking, like, man, the Chiefs got a good team here. They could probably go and do something. Then they don't, and then you're just like, well, how am I supposed to trust this team when they're supposed to be pretty good and they don't do anything? And then we go into, let's see, what was after that? Was that the one that comes to my head is the Mariota pass to himself. Oh, that one hurt.
Indy, 2013 Indy.
Yes, 2013 Indy. Oh, talk about some trust issues on that one. Oh my gosh. So I was. And even during the 2019 playoffs and the run to the Super Bowl, I was like, well, this is it. This is it. We done it. We screwed it up. But, I mean, rightfully so, because, like, who comes back from 28 points? I don't know. Patrick Mahomes.
You had the forward progress call on Mariota, like the worst call in NFL. That's the worst call in NFL history. I don't want this to turn into, like, let's just sit here and complain about all these games. But we lost to the Steelers and kicked 6 field goals. Like, are the Steelers kicked 6 field goals? Like,
the BS holding call still freaking
lost. And then the offsides, the D4 thing. Yeah, I forgot about that. Never forget that one because I was on a plane at like 6 a.m. the next day to go to the Senior Bowl, just contemplating life. Just like, what am I doing?
That's
what we're doing here.
Yeah, so that's kind of where it all started. And then from there, Patrick Mahomes kind of erased a lot of that, right? When you see him come back from these games, you're like, wow, Patrick Mahomes can do whatever he needs to do to win a football game. He still can. I'm not saying that he can't, but it's like I start to feel some of that creep back in once you see them go down and then they fumble when they have a game-winning field goal essentially lined up. And then you see them, turn the ball over 4 times. You're like, well, nothing is sacred anymore. I guess all things that I knew were holy are not.
What we figured out is the Chiefs can play bad and still lose a football game. Because there for a while, it was like, we want to see that line of how awful can they play. It's like, I bet you can't fumble it 4 times and win a football game. Or like, oh, yeah, let's make 3 of them inside the red zone. Like, let's do that. How about we also don't stop anybody inside the red zone and see if you can still win a game. And they still almost did every thing on that bingo card. But, Nick, do you get overly are you pessimistic, optimistic in general about your sports teams when you're watching games?
With some teams, like with K-State, I do. I don't, for some reason I do, but with the Chiefs and with the NFL and with parity, I mean, all teams are good. All teams can truly win on any given day. And it's not a football, right? It's a foot oval, right? So it bounces funny. It really bounces funny. And Chiefs were getting all those good bounces for the past couple of years. And this season alone, you know, these first games, they have not been, they got the old Chiefs defense was we're going to kill the drive by getting a takeaway, right? And that's how they beat Cleveland, right? Because if they didn't get that interception, Cleveland's kicking a field goal. The Chiefs are looking at 0-3. Yeah. Right. So that's what's been their saviors, right? Is that. So the ball isn't going on. And it's like also, you know, Patrick isn't making, I think Patrick, honestly, I think he's doing too much. I think we saw this in, I think the Super Bowl year, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the Super Bowl year, I felt like he came out after his MVP and was just trying to clip, right? Tucker, you know what I'm talking about, just clipping, right? Just trying to make highlights, trying to do stuff. And it's like, you look at that pass play, man, he could just look and just throw it. Right. And so he's young. He's not a 10-year veteran, even though he plays like one. He's still, what is this, 5th year? I don't even know.
I think he's 26 now.
So yeah. So like 5th year. So it's like, he's still youngish. He's still learning stuff. And I feel like when the Chiefs figured it out for the Super Bowl year is when the offense had to sort of like, hey, we gotta reconfigure. What worked last year is not working this year. And we need to reconfigure offense too, because teams have figured us out. And well, not only that, I don't think teams have not figured, but it's an oval and it's not bouncing for the Chiefs this year.
Right.
I think you asked about, you know, Patrick Mahomes making those crazy plays and not trying to take away that. I would be curious to ask a guy like Bobby Stroop, guy that's known him, you know, it's been watching him since high school. How many times have you heard somebody say, like, you need to learn not to make those kinds of passes? Like,
I didn't say that. I was like, yes.
I know, but you just know what I mean in general, like that you're going to get a little bit of that. But I think we could probably do an entire episode based on the discourse that we've seen on social media on the Marcus Kemp interception, on whose fault that was. And like, where do you want to put blame? And Tucker, I'm sorry, my guy. We will not make that a segment. I'm just scrapping that segment right off the bat.
Just cancel it. But that's also who Patrick is too. Like, he doesn't mean to do that. It's a natural tendency. And you don't want to bottle a talent such as Patrick Mahomes like that to say, hey, don't do that. But what you can do is just say, hey, you know, just keep doing what you're doing. You know, trust what you see. And don't ever try to contain it.
I will say on that, okay, there's a lot of things that are on social media that you're either one side or the other, right? This, I think, goes for not just social media, not just for football, but for a lot of things in this world. You're either one side or the other, and that's not necessarily what it is, right? Like that Marcus Kemp interception. Should Marcus Kemp have caught it? Yeah. Should Patrick Mahomes made that pass a little bit easier? Yeah. Both things can be true.
No,
they're not.
No, it's not. You take a side. You dig in.
Die on a hill. Die on a hill. You have to die on a hill. You absolutely can. You can't have it both ways. You got to declare a side. There's no
reason takes here. But the point is, like, Patrick Mahomes not above criticism either. And so it's okay for us to be like, you know what, I'm okay with him trying the no-look pass and doing that because it works more often than it doesn't. And that takes away like his swag on the field and all that. But you can still say, like, if you're going to do that stuff, you better throw an accurate pass when there's a guy wide open in the middle of the field. And if he doesn't and he reaches back, you hope he catches the ball, and he should at that level. But if he doesn't, it's everybody's fault.
Yeah.
So here's using it as a reason to bring up needing a number 2 wide receiver. And Marcus Kemp is fully capable of making that catch, as capable as Josh Gordon is of not making that catch. So any of those things could happen. Anyway, before we move on to the next segment, we have got to do a special shout out to Fairway Independent Mortgage. Fairway Independent Mortgage makes the home loan process as simple as possible by guiding you through every step, just as they've done for the past 25 years. Call Jennifer Dixon at 816-390-8898. That's 816-390-8898. Great rates, a focus on customer service, and the fastest turn times in the industry. That is Fairway Independent Mortgage. Tucker, how was that?
That's good. Fastest turn times in the industry?
That's what they say.
Dang.
That is what they say. And that is saying a lot because I'm not going to make this a whole segment, but turn times with as many houses of being sold, I don't know about your guys' neighborhoods, but the real estate market doesn't appear to be slowing down. There's still a ton of houses for sale.
They're building a house right across the street from me right now.
God, go buy it.
You're a billionaire if you're building a house right now with the cost and everything like that.
Yeah.
But that's another podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate the shout out from the comment section. So, guys, right now, I want to ask about the Eagles game and get each of you to give me one take real quick because everybody's got their eye on something different right now. It's the other thing that's great and bad about having so many different content creators within Chiefs Kingdom. There's a lot of different places to get a lot of cool content. A lot of people want to focus on the defensive line up front, people focusing on the offensive line, people focusing on the receivers, the corners, the linebackers. A lot of people have been focusing on the linebackers and the safety play. When it comes to Sunday, who are you focusing on, Nick, individually that you're like, I want to see that guy have a good game? Who is the guy that you think for the Chiefs to come out and win this game needs to have a good game against the Eagles on Sunday?
I'd say I'll be looking at Hitchens. I really will be Hitchens or I'd say Orlando or anybody who's lining up against Fletcher Cox, right? He's a bad mamma jamma at defensive line. But I think Hitchens, because I think Hitchens can play at the level, and I just feel like his game is a bit off right now. I think the communication and getting, plays called or, whether that's from Spags or him or getting people lined up, I think there's some rustiness to this Chiefs defense, which I don't know if it's from Chris Jones being outside and them learning new schemes around him or, him having to account for that, not having Frank Clark out there. So there's a lot of things that I'll be looking at. But I think if you had to narrow it down, I'd be looking at Hitch just because I know he can play. He's played at a high level and just hasn't looked his usual self.
Tucker, what about you? Who are you looking forward to watching on Sunday? Who do you think needs to have a good game for the Chiefs to get their second win of the season, get back to 500?
Well, I'm always looking at Nick Bolton because, that's a Mizzou guy. I might hold the Mizzou guys, the Mizzou faithful, up to a higher standard. You chose violence.
You did this.
I did. Listen, I did. And I fully recognize that I chose violence. I might hold Nick Bolton to a higher standard than anyone else does. But I want to see him do well. But when I start thinking about it, I'm thinking about Dan Sorensen as another guy that didn't really have a great showing against really the first 3 weeks of the season. So hopefully he can get back on track. I really want to see Juan Thornhill out there. That's who I want to see out there and see him come out there and play well. He hasn't been getting as much run, but I want to see him get more run. I really like Juan. I know BJ really likes Juan as well. And I just want to see him do good. But I think the eyes are on the defense, right? Both Nick and I said defense. I don't know what you think here, BJ.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 5-5, and I'm bringing this up for 5 Farms there from Holiday Distillery, our good friends up there. 5 Farms for 5-5 because I need to see Frank Clark back out on the field. I don't know if it's going to happen this week. Don't know his injury situation, but there's a presence there, and anyone who's ever listened to this show knows how I feel about Frank and what his presence does to get back out on the field. But I do think that he's got something left in the tank that our defense needs, and it's going to help. And there's going to be times that we are reminded why he's out on the field and why he is valuable to this defense. And I will continue to sing that song. And the 5 Farms and the 5-5 is just a natural connection. So just trying to do something a little fun there.
I like how we did all do defense. That is peculiar, seeing as how the offense is really not getting it done. I know it's a team sport, but at the same time, it's like offense, man. You got to sustain some more drives.
I had to do it. That was a great comment. I had to do it. All right, guys, we're gonna do one more segment before we go into Blind Nil. I know Nick is just itching to get to Blind Nil, his favorite segment. But we used to do this a long time ago at Arrowhead Pride, the blog I was on. I want to know what your guys' victories of the week are. Everybody spent, at least on social media, on Twitter. I'll explain it, Nick. Everybody, it's just Chiefs are 1-2. You're expecting them to go 3-0. Everyone thought the team was going to be undefeated. Just a lot of negativity. I want to spread some positive, get some positive juju out there. So, Nick, you get to go first. want to know, what's your victory of the week? What's something good that's happened?
I would say that we tested negative for COVID. My son got it last week, so
Big.
we all tested negative, so that's good. Or he got it 2 weeks ago, rather. So we're just getting out of quarantine. So that's a big win. And luckily, he was symptom free, so that was good.
That's good. Tucker, what's your victory of the week?
I've been going to bed before 1 a.m. That's a win.
Tucker. Hey, Tucker, are you comfortable? Are you comfortable saying your age on air?
Yeah, I'm 23. Yeah.
Nick, how many times did you go to bed before 1 o'clock at 23 years old?
Not a lot. Not a lot.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
All right, let's move into blind note. Nick, I'll let you take this segment over. This is going swimmingly. You go ahead and take this one.
Blind note. Have other teams figured out the Chiefs, or are the Chiefs shooting themselves in the foot?
Chiefs are shooting themselves in the foot. I haven't seen very many times outside of Patrick Mahomes looking uncomfortable in the pocket. We've talked about that. I think it's in his head now, stepping up, stepping back, drifting, all the stuff. It seemed like, at least in the Chargers game, there were a few times where it just looked uncomfortable. But in general, the Chiefs turned the ball over 4 times, 3 times inside the red zone. They don't do that. They win those games. They don't turn the ball over in freak fashion. They win the game. So as close as they are to being 0-3, they is equally close to being 3-0. Which masks a lot of these issues. If we had won these games, we'd be talking positive and everybody would be happy. We wouldn't be complaining about the bad things, and the people that would be pointing those out would be called haters. It's like, quit hating on stuff. We're 3-0. And so now everybody's a hater for bringing up that stuff. And you have, people like us that sit here and try to break it all down for you.
Yeah, I don't know if really anyone's figured out the Chiefs. I think the formula is you gotta limit Tyreek Hill. Then Travis Kelce still has a really good game and still puts him in a pretty good position to win a game. I was always funny when the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl and then people were like, well, that's it. They figured out the Chiefs. Yeah, if they have their third string offensive line in and you've got some dudes on the defensive line and some dudes at linebacker and some dudes at safety, yeah, you got the Chiefs figured out. I don't think that they've been figured out. I think it's the Chiefs. 4 turnovers with 3 coming in the red zone, not very good. Also, what are they? 11 for 12 in red zone defense. So I know they got 1 stop and it was a field goal. So still getting points out in the red zone. Not great for the old Chiefs defense, but I just think that they're hurting themselves. That's what I'm trying to say.
I like that. I don't know. I think that there are pieces coming together about clamping the cheetah and clamping Travis, that I really feel like you kind of limit, like a turtleneck, where you just like a weak person slowly putting hands around your neck. Like, I think if you do that to this offense, right, you're not getting these first half explosion of points, which is just weird for me to see, because usually it's like the Chiefs are on chill mode in the second half, and now they're in kind of this scramble, sort of like, oh shoot, we don't have this big old lead margin of or lead anymore. So it's weird football to me. It's like something's off, and I know the turnovers are an issue, and then the red zone. But they look at stuff too. Is I still have yet to see the Chiefs score a lot of touchdowns in the red zone outside of the turnovers on just pure rushing plays.
Yeah.
Right. And past years they've had to reach into that bag of tricks. Is there what's the Super Bowl play where they did the Rose Bowl formation? I mean, that's how they were scoring in the red zone. And that's where you think you should trick plays. But I would love to see, and this is me being just an O-line guy, for the Chiefs to change it up and just straight up run the ball in the red zone. I would like to see that. Just let's see what this offensive line can do.
That was we talked about it all off season. The lab guys talked about running more power and being more physical with the guys that they had up front. So it fits with everything that we had talked about. And it seemed like we had talked about during the preseason. We saw bodies being moved, that Duke Manyweather and the O-line masterminds and Jeff Schwartz and those guys are highlighting Trey Smith and those guys and Creed Humphrey, not just moving bodies, but they're pancaking NFL players as rookies. you can talk a lot about Brett Veach's drafts over the last 3 years, and a lot of people have spent a lot of time looking at the lack of production they've gotten out of those first couple of draft classes. But this one, especially as it relates to the offensive line, he's going to hang his hat on.
Yeah, it's going to be huge.
Yeah.
All right, Tucker, what's your blind nil segment for us tonight?
So I had a conversation, I believe it was with the KC Lab guys. I can't remember where it was taking place. I talked to those guys so much I forget where these conversations take place. But they were talking about this Eagles game, and I believe it was Craig Stout brought this up. And I've been kind of mulling over it all day of, is this a lose-lose game for the Chiefs? When you think about it, they're playing an Eagles team who is not very good, just got whopped by the Cowboys. And if the Chiefs blow them out, so what? That's what they're supposed to do. If the Chiefs lose to the Eagles, then it's full-on panic mode. So is this a lose-lose game for the Chiefs?
I would say no. I would say if you win, you got to win. Like, I see what you're saying about are they back, but I think the one factor and thing that kind of sucks is that you are facing a team who's coming off a horrible loss. So
right.
Guess who's going to be motivated? Right? Guess who's going to reconfigure their Jalen Hurts-led offense? Guess what defense is actually pretty good, just isn't showing it. It's the Eagles. So this could be a perfect storm for the Chiefs to, like, are they still hungover from this loss to the Chargers and this loss to Baltimore? Right? Like, are they just thinking that things are just going to get cleaned up magically? Are these errors going to get corrected? So no, this is a must win. Like the Chiefs could go 1-3. So if anything, it's like a playoff game. You need it.
I don't think anybody is going to criticize because of the environment we're in right now, coming off the 2 losses, that if the Chiefs come out and boat race them, it's like that's what they were supposed to do. Like maybe some people would say it. I think most people would just be like, feel better. Like, okay, good. Like that's what I thought we were. Like that's who I thought we were. So I don't necessarily see that as much, but you never know. I think it's going to be an Andy Reid love fest. I mean, it's in Philly. He's got the record. He wins that. He does something that no other coach in NFL history has ever done. The Eagles have won a Super Bowl. Andy Reid has run a Super Bowl. There's been enough time now, and not that he hasn't gone back and played there before, and it's not the first time he's done this, but this just feels a little different. And there's a very realistic milestone that he's going to hit. And for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, Andy Reid will, with the win on Sunday, would be his 100th win with the Kansas City Chiefs, and he would become the first coach in NFL history to win at least 100 games with 2 different NFL franchises. And the fact that the game is in Philly just makes it that more special. I think Coach made a joke during a presser this week when somebody asked him, he's like, yeah, you think we'd lose those last 2 games? Of course we were setting this up for this to be this cool. The perfect way. That's the exact way that Andy Reid is going to answer some question about him. Is a way to deflect it and make it a joke in some way. But my blind nil question for you guys this week. I kind of gave away one of them just with what player do you expect to do well? But in the spirit of the campaign that we started this morning with Feed It Forward, which is for anyone who's listening who didn't see it on social media, we are sending 100 Cookie Society cookies. That is Jeff Allen and his wife Marissa's company. They're based in Frisco. We are sending 100 of those cookies to a different school in the Kansas City area every week as a Feed It Forward teacher appreciation campaign. Just a simple way to say thank you to teachers for everything they've done during COVID over the last couple of years. My mom was a teacher. My sister is a teacher. And I know what they're going through with the mask mandate and all the crap that everybody knows and dealing with kids and our kids. Anyway, that's thankless and an area they don't get enough credit as it is. And so we really need to thank them in situations where we're all stressed and we've all got stuff going on. So in the spirit of that and the campaign that we started today, delivered 100 cookies to Sunrise Point Elementary School. I want to ask Nick, what is your favorite all-time cookie and what is your most overrated flavor of cookie?
Oh my God.
Yeah. You didn't see that one. Didn't think that one was coming, did you?
That's a true blind nil. BJ, thank you for fully adopting. There was no eye roll when you said blind nil this week, so I knew it had to be special one for you. So let's say, like, I think my favorite, and this might be cheating, but I am a massive fan of the Oreo cookie. Were you talking cookie or quick ice cream? Just a pure cookie?
Just a cookie.
I think, okay, so without the ice cream, I was going to say the Oreo cookie, ice cream cookie sandwich, but that's not whatever. I would say the, let's go Girl Scouts, right? Because it's for a good cause. And then it's going to be basic as hell, but the lemonades. It's got like looks like a graham cracker or a shortbread. And it's got like this layer of like plasticky, looks like
icing.
I don't know, icing. It's like, like icing. But it's a lemonade, and it's like, to me, it's one flavor, and like the textures just get like when you chomp them, the textures just kind of get this in your mouth, and you just like, it's like a pop of lemon, right? Like a zest of lemon, and it's just, I'm like, wow, what an appropriately named cookie. It's a lemonade. So the lemonades from Girl Scout cookies are my most favorite all-time cookie in the whole wide world, and the most overrated cookie. I don't like the double chocolate chip, or not the double chocolate chip. Any chocolate chip cookie that doesn't have a billion chocolate chips in it is overrated. Okay. And it stinks. It's terrible.
I want to go back to these lemonade cookies because I saw Tucker's face, and the whole world is going to see Tucker's face because, man, Tucker, you must like these cookies because you were into whatever he was talking about.
Lemonades are my favorite Girl Scout cookie. I love the lemony zest flavor, and so when Nick was talking about it, he was preaching to the choir. So I would sing those praises as well.
All right, I'm very quickly gonna go. In Cookie Society, all the cookies are good. Don't get me wrong, but in general, peanut butter cookies are trash. Like they're trash cookie. That's my thought. And then oatmeal raisin, top cookie. I'm a huge.
What did you say?
Oatmeal raisins are delicious. And
are you
really want to throw it?
That was almost my overrated one. Like that's.
I was hoping you came with it because we could throw down.
Is your favorite cereal Cracklin Oat Bran? Or the frosted mini wheats, but just the big square, like is that
Cookie Crisp? Let's just say on brand. They're delicious.
Frosted mini wheats, or the big mini.
You
wheats.
would.
What's the mini wheat? Where you get like 4 in like a thing that you have to be over 90 to get.
What's your favorite cereal? Are you gonna say is oatmeal a cereal?
Yeah, right. It's steel cut grain. My favorite cereal is Count Chocula, and it's on right now because it's Halloween season.
Ooh,
Count Chocula is the goat because there's no wheat.
I still haven't heard a good excuse or reason why oatmeal raisin isn't on the Mount Rushmore of cookies. Okay.
Because listen, okay, so I do lunches for like doctors' clinics and stuff like that at my job, and I will get like, if I'm getting like 30 cookies, I'll get 25 chocolate chip cookies and I'll get 5 oatmeal raisin. And guess what? End of the day, I've got 4 oatmeal raisins left.
Invite me over because I would love to be a part of your cookie parties because I will just be in heaven.
No, it's like pick one. Are you healthy or not healthy? Like I don't like this like a diet cookie. Like, no, I know what I'm doing. I'm an adult. I'm going full on. It's like brunch, right? I'm either drinking at breakfast or I'm drinking at lunch. I don't need you to fluff it up for me. I don't. What's your diet cookie? If I want oatmeal, I'll eat oatmeal and I'll put a whole bunch of butter and honey and peanut butter and yogurt. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Look at you.
Yeah.
BJ is, or they're showing their comments. So oatmeal cookie lovers unite, I guess.
Listen, I've seen some stuff on social calling them trash cookies, and I'm just ready to throw down here. And I was ready to do it today, but nobody wants to come. Nobody wants to come. You come at the oatmeal raisin cookie, which is the king.
Oh, R.I.P. Omar.
All right. Exactly. All right. final thoughts before we let everybody go. We appreciate everyone for tuning into this episode. Hopefully next week when we have the show on Thursday, we're talking about a victory. We won't spend a third of the show talking about cookies. Final thoughts, Nick, what do you got?
100. Let's do it. LFG with like 4 exclamation points. All caps.
There we go. Nick just made a tweet. This is what I say to my high school kids when we get done on our Thursday walkthrough practice. I say, "Hay's in the barn. Work's all done. And now you just gotta go to bed, get rest up, ready to go. So hay's in the barn."
Awesome. My final thought is for anyone who's still listening, we appreciate your support of KC Sports Network. Please continue to follow us, subscribe to our Substack at kcsn.substack.com. You're getting 7 newsletters a week. Those are in-depth breakdowns, features, stuff that warrants paying $50 a year is all that is. And if you pay $50 a year right now, we're going to send an additional 5 cookies to 5 different teachers in the Kansas City area as part of this Feed It Forward campaign. We appreciate all of you for tuning in. Thank you so much. Again, we will see you guys next week, hopefully talking about a Chiefs victory over the Eagles, praising Andy Reid for being a GOAT, and then talking about that primetime matchup with the Bills the following week, which will be a big one. Again, please continue to rate, review, subscribe to all of the shows on our channels. We appreciate your support, and we will see you next.